Hi everyone, Paraskevia, it's Friday, I'm Mr. Smith and today we're looking at the verb to have in Georgian. This verb to have only deals with things that we possess, things that we own, property that we have bought, things that we had, and things that we're going to have. So if you're ready, let's go. Slide 1 tells a little bit of story about money and me having it or not in the first person. So, firstly, let's go to the verb we need. Me max, I have. Me makonda, I had. Me mekneba, I will have. Makonda, max, mekneba. The a and the e, changing from present to future. Please pay attention to that. And let's look at some examples. Gushin, yesterday. Asilari makonda. Gushin asilari makonda. I had 100 lari yesterday. Now I have no money. Achla puli armax. Armax puli achla. But it's good news. Tomorrow, chval atasilari mekneba. Chval atasilari mekneba. So, gushin asilari makonda. Magram achla puli armax. Chval atasilari mekneba. Looks like a happy ending. These are things that you don't physically have, but they are things that you do possess. So, if I had a good idea, then kargi idea makonda. Makonda, kargi idea. If I have an interesting idea, then sa intereso gegma max. Sa intereso gegma max. Me max, sa intereso gegma. Male mekneba strategia. Male, soon, very soon, male mekneba strategia. Soon I'll have a strategy. So of course, these are missing. They are not necessary. One extra thing I would like to say, let's look at the example at the beginning. Achla puli ar max. The informal variant of achla is echla. The informal variant of max is mak. So, for a Georgian in an academic style, achla puli ar max sounds great. But maybe in the street, echla puli ar mak. Me ar mach echla puli. This achla echla, mak mach transformation happens all the time. So just be aware of it. Now it's your turn. What you have, what you had, and what you are going to have. So, right to the beginning, gaks. G. That's you. Shen gaks. If you had it, shen gkonda. Shen gkonda. And if you're going to have it, and you will have it, then shen gekneba. Shen gekneba. So here that we can see that the m from mak has changed and the a and the e have remained the same. So we can see that me and you having something now in the future follow very similar structures. As long as you get the g and I get the m, the sentence makes sense. Here's some interesting examples. Yesterday you had an interesting plan. Gushin sa intereso gegma gkonda. Gushin sa intereso gegma gkonda. If you're thinking Wakonda, you're right. This is the first thing I thought of when I first learned Gkonda, and I don't know why. Because Makonda, I thought meant had. Gkonda, I just thought of Wakonda. But anyway, if that helps you learn it, that's the way it was for me. Now you have money. Shen achla puli gaks. Shen achla puli gaks. I will add from the tip from the previous slide, I can say echla puli gak. Shen gach echla puli. Using the short street version to say the same thing. But you'll have money in the evening. Am saramos puli gekneba. Am saramos puli gekneba. You will have money in the evening. Back to the other ones, which obviously require here an a or an an or an a. These are taken away, so this sentence is much easier. Shen, you, gushin, yesterday, kargi idea gkonda. Kargi idea gkonda, Shen. You had a good idea. Gushin, yesterday. Now, Shen sa intereso gegma gax. Sa intereso gegma gax. In Georgian, you can almost add that extra emphasis, like, what an interesting idea you have. Rasa intereso gegma gax. That ra adds that extra wow to the observation that you have an interesting idea right now. Male sun. Male gekneba strategia. Male gekneba strategia. One thing I will add, now that we practice this, Gushin sa intereso gegma gkonda Shen, achla puli gax, am sagamos puli gekneba. Just remember, in English, we have collocated verbs in English, and that means that our verb had doesn't necessarily have strictly the meaning of possession. If I had a pizza, I ate it. If I had fun, I enjoyed it. If I had a shower, I showered myself. And if I had a glass of water, I drank it. Our natural tendency in English to use non-collocated verbs to speak and use have in such high frequency is a barrier. And on the flip side, many Georgians avoid using and overusing have because they will necessarily use non-collocated separate verbs for all of these examples. So just pay attention at this easy level that there is no equivalent for these. You have to change the verb entirely. Khona deals with possession only. Slide 3 deals with the third person, and just like English, there is a change, and there are a few similarities, but quite a lot of differences. But we'll start from the very beginning. If he or she has, mas ax. Mas ax. If he or she had, mas konda. Mas konda. If he or she will have, ekneba. Ekneba. If it were at all memorable, then I would suggest learning it as in k, a, e, konda, ax, ekneba. But really, that's a strategy that I invented. I think it's quite challenging. But I've marked it out because it's something which I depended on when I started learning these verbs. Let's look at a nice example. Mas gushin sa intereso idea konda. Mas gushin sa intereso idea konda. Mas konda gushin sa intereso idea. Please note here that the h is almost never said. It is not entirely necessary in Georgian to use the h. Here we don't have a m from max. We don't have a g from gax. From I have, you have. It's just simply ax. Mas ax. Puli, achla, mas achla puli ax, same thing, he or she has money. Later on, saramos, in the evening, you'll have time. Shen, saramos dro gekneba. But if he'll have time, mas saramos dro ekneba. So the mas and the ekneba go together. Looking at something which you don't physically touch, but it's in your head. Mas kargi idea konda. Mas kargi idea konda. He or she had a good idea. Of course, by context, we would know. Achla, now. Mas sa intereso gegma ax. Mas sa intereso gegma ax. In the future, mas male ekneba strategia. Mas ekneba male strategia. He'll have a strategy soon, male. I will say, in the case that you want to be specific, that this man had a good idea, or this woman has an interesting idea, then of course you can use the word man and woman, but you've got to add an S. Just like in English, I go, he goes, then you have to add an S there. In Georgian, we're going to add it to the man, not the verb. The verb remains the same. Cats, cats, kargi idea khona. Cats, kargi idea khona. If it's a woman, kali, just remember that comes from katsi, kali, a woman. Kals sa intereso gegma aks. Kals sa intereso gegma aks. This woman has an interesting idea. That is it. That is the last slide for today. Thank you so much for your time. Next week, logically, we're looking at the plural forms of this verb and the other parts that we've missed out. So enjoy the weekend and I'll see you then. Bye.